is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Certain cars demand respect. To master them is not to wrangle them into submission, but to treat it like a partner as the two of you try your best to reach the finish line first. The Radical is one such car. Nimble, powerful, and often underappreciated, this spec-built prototype has finally started to gain the attention it deserves on iRacing. And riding on this growing notoriety, the PRL has added it to its stable. We'll see who can manage to stay on this bucking bronco of a machine as we get ready to watch round one of the Precision Racing League's American iRacing Thursday series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Taylor Burris. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Taylor, the inaugural race being held at Spa just feels right with how popular this circuit is. Tell us about the track.
Well, of course, and welcome everyone to Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Located in Stavelot, Belgium, this track opened originally in 1921 and originally was a 15-kilometer monster. Nowadays, of course, the current configuration is a 4.3-mile or 7-kilometer course with 19 turns. Some of the most famous corner names are here at Spa, such as Eau Rouge, La Source, and La Combes. To give you, the fan, the opportunity to see what it is like to drive a Radical here at Spa, let us go on board with a GSRC lap guide.
The ideal thing to focus on here is getting traction off the corner so that you don't hamper the long run on the throttle you're about to take. With the immense downforce produced by the Radical, you won't be lifting through Eau Rouge. It's all about simply straightening out this famous corner to give yourself every little bit of speed you can get for the Kemmel Straight. Expect drivers to use the draft to try to attempt some passes, and if they don't get fully by you, then it's a game of chicken on the brakes into Lacombe. The back and forth nature of this chicane can make a side-by-side battle carry on for a few apexes here, especially since this sequence flows right into Malmedy, so it acts as part of the chicane. And if you're still going at it on your way back down the hill, whoever is on the outside of Rivage is probably going to be the one to lose out. It's off camber, so it's rare that you see someone able to use the long way around to successfully make an overtake. Quickly, the track switches back into no-name and you'll continue to drop in elevation. Watch out how much of these curves you take in places because you can certainly upset the car. It'll take some trial and error to assess where you can get greedy. Then we hit Puhan, and you'll need some brakes and a smooth turn-in on the first apex, but the second is simply flat out. That'll be important because even though the straight itself down to Fanyu's isn't long, it's also downhill and you've been on the throttle since halfway through Puhan. You don't often see passes into this swift chicane, but anyone who's getting desperate could try to pull a surprise attack. It's another short burst to Stavelo, but this two-part corner is easily one of the more important turns of the circuit. The first half is a slower part, but you still want a nice solid exit. Then, feather the throttle in the second half while you try to keep your speed up. Any bit of momentum you can add will pay dividends. Even Blanchimont doesn't require a lift. If you can withstand the dirty air, you've got your last opportunity for a pass under braking into the bus stop. You definitely want to stay off the tall red inner curves because the Radical does not like them. Once again, it's all about that good corner exit to keep yourself safe on the run to La Source, but hopefully, if you've kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around Spa. There you see a lap around Spa, and this series is brought to you by HFD1 Motorsports. A big thank you goes out to them for sponsoring this season of the Radicals here on the Thursday series for PRL. So is greatly appreciated by us in the booth as well, because we're excited about this new car that we're getting to cover. Not new to the service, but new to us. We've only done one other race as far as I can tell from our stats here on GSRC that has used the Radical. Now, we have our race details up because this is a new series. We are in round one, as we said. The Radical SR8 is the car that they are running. You can actually get this car in real life and go take it to a track day. The race distance, just like we did on Tuesday, 45 minutes, and you can expect one scheduled pit stop because of the restricted fuel that they've done. Other than that, though, they have left the setups open. The official racing in these cars is fixed right now, but for this season and this series, you can tweak them to how you like, and that will make a difference out on the track. They have an incident cap of about 24 incidents. If you hit that 24, you are disqualified on the spot. That will be something of a worry we'll talk about a little bit later at a track like Spa, where they have lots of paved runoff. But before we get to that, why don't we go to Taylor, who has the keys to the race and how these drivers are going to manage a win today.
Well, one of the biggest keys is going to be today's start of the race. The starts are going to be standing starts, so drivers are going to have to remain focused during that time period to when to light turns green to go, but also be careful if others stall or there's a major incident on the start of that race, especially at a track such as Spa. Another thing is going to be that incident cap. Here at Spa, there is a lot of places to be where the car can easily go off course into the runoff area, which could cause you to gain an incident point. Even though it's one, for 45 minutes, it can be very easily to rack up 24 one-point off-track incident points here at this track. And then finally, of course, is that this is a new car for some of the drivers here, as well as our viewers here for the GSRC and IESN series. So this will be very difficult for the drivers to know how to handle the car at a track like this, as well as also making sure when to come in for pit stop due to the fact of that fuel restriction of knowing when to come down. Even though it is a 45-minute race, a lot of things can definitely happen here in that short period of time, Joe. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to watching this race here tonight.
Me as well. New ground certainly being broken, and that means that there is some unpredictability that we expect out there. And if you like that sort of unpredictability, well, there's all kinds of races that have that here on the iRacing Esports Network. There's all variety of styles, from dirt on the road with a rallycross to dirt ovals. They've got paved ovals, and of course, as you can tell, we have road course racing on the paved side here. So please make sure to hit that big red subscribe button and don't miss a moment here on the IESN. Qualifying is out right now. As we watch the cars work their way around. Most everybody's got a lap time in, but you may have noticed that we've got a little bit of cloud cover here and there as a cloud over the track right now. That has lowered the temperature slightly down to 99 degrees, which I'm sure the drivers will appreciate, because that is still fairly hot, especially for a track like Spa.
Yes, indeed. The track conditions are going to be constantly changing, especially with this new update to where we will see cloud cover on the track. Looking at the qualifying times right now, as well as practice, they seem to have gone up compared to that, due to the fact that even though this cloud cover helping it right now, with Enzo right now in that 155 with a 2:14.60. So it is getting a little bit faster here tonight, Joe.
Yep, and Enzo was the one that we just saw spinning off the screen, unfortunately. Now, a driver that some of you might remember, Curlin Andrew, has brought himself over tonight to race in the number 19. He's actually just been bumped down to third. I was about to mention him being in second because Mark Feil, who is actually just behind him on track, you saw a flash of him on screen there, the 777 is now on pole. Did not expect that from the Carolina or the Pennsylvania driver.
Yeah, very quite impressive run right now for Mark Feil. Used to see him running in the GT American Tuesday series, and was doing quite well, mid-pack driver, but here tonight, looks like he's going to be one of those contenders for this series.
And Owen McLaughlin just set the fastest lap. And I'm thinking this might be due to the track temperatures. It's gone all the way down to 94 degrees. So drivers who are out there right now are certainly getting the full effect of a cooler, grippier track. There are still 5 minutes to go, though, so there is time to be found, I'm sure.
Yes, indeed. I actually am watching right now with Enzo Jesus Maglia. He's just got back on track right now to go back out and try to gain a little bit more extra time. He's got quite a bit to catch up, though, to Owen McLaughlin.
So Horatio Brown working his way around Malbody now down to Ravage, currently sitting, well, he was in 6th, now he's in 7th. Times are just filing in. I am amazed at how quickly the drivers are able to take advantage of these cooler temperatures that we're seeing. As, well, Horatio is going to have to do it on his own as well to try and see if he can get up there. Down through Puhan he goes. The double apexer trying to keep it within the racing lines. That's something we haven't talked about as well. It's not just the incidents during the race, but during qualifying because of it being able to nullify your lap.
Yes, indeed. Even just a small little bit of off-track can cost you the opportunity for a really good lap time here, which can be crucial. As we see right now, as we ride on board with Horatio Brown, you see the sun coming back out. So that means the temperature is now going to rise a little bit more before he gets to the checkered flag.
Yep, indeed. It's staying steady right now as the sun has only just recently come out. Now, he does have the draft of Daniel Burnett in front of him, so this could help. But these are such high downforce cars. I have to imagine that the wake could mess things up slightly in some corners, especially fast ones like Blanchimont here.
Yes, indeed. That's going to be very difficult. Just setting it off by a small inch even could even cost you to where you could wash up off course or even spin the car out. I was out here testing the car a little bit ago during the practice run and just seeing how difficult it is. Just even placing the car onto the curbing a little bit too much can cost you to spin your car out, or worse, damage your car. So it can be a very difficult car to drive, but yet it is so fun to drive.
Ooh, Horatio Brown up to the front row with a 2:14.2, and Kip Stevens joins him right behind him in row 2, taking 3rd. Now, Enzo Massalia is crossing the line right now, but it looks like he had an off track on that one. So he's got just enough time to get 1, maybe 2 more laps in.
Tell you what, one driver I'm surprised who has not made a lap time is Michael Overbay. He was up towards the top 5 in practice early on. And it looks like he is on track. Yes, he is. He's now just making his first lap attempt. So maybe he was waiting for the right conditions for him to get on track.
Yep, Overbay already out. We're still waiting on Eric Luke and Andrew Spicer as well to get their first timed lap in. As looking at the qualifying times, we have a decent spread, actually. We do have one outlier in Bradley Hawley with a 2:31, but ahead of him, more representative, is Phil Guillaumin, who has a 2:22. Compare that to the pole time of 2:13. I suspect traffic might come into play today, judging by that.
And we've seen how traffic can come into play, especially here in the PRO, where it can be very costly for our leaders. But it looks like these drivers are going to be a little bit more cautious, knowing that to the fact of what happens in other series. So we have to keep an eye on, see if that will be a major player coming down later on in the closing laps tonight.
Watch Overbay work his way towards La Source. This is the classic pits. So the timing line, if you haven't been able to suss out by now, is on the downhill after La Source towards Eau Rouge, where Overbay is going to be coming right now. The track temperature is going right back up. It's already back to 98 degrees, so I'm not sure if we're going to really see anybody able to topple that pole time by McLaughlin.
No, I don't think so either. And Overbay had just now gotten to P10, so he's got maybe one shot to get a lap in, but it's going to be very close. I don't think he's going to be able to get it.
Well, McLaughlin just crossed the line to start another lap if he wants it. Kip Stevens just came across, but has not improved position, even though he improves his time slightly. See if anybody else coming behind him is one of our front runners. Looks like it's mostly drivers down the order in the field that are just finishing laps now. Horatio Brown not going to have enough time to improve from that second place. You saw him off course. This is Curlin Andrew now sitting in 7th. He was farther up. In fact, was, I want to say, in the top 4 in practice, if I'm remembering correctly. Down towards the bus stop. That bright yellow car gets it woed up. Ooh, a little bit hot into the chicane, but he gathers it together. Some slight wheel spin. And again, he's still got to finish this lap. It is not the normal timing line that you saw there that he crossed that Formula One runs. As he comes around La Source, let's see what he's got. The time looks good down there below. Is it going to be quick enough to improve? No, it will not. A 2:14.9. Kip Stevens coming around. He is currently coming out of Stavelo. And let's see if there's any other top drivers close to finishing right now. I think he's the highest we've got out there right now.
Michael Overbay is coming out heading towards La Source right now. He's just crossed the finish line where it would be for the Formula One circuit. He's just coming out of La Source, now crossing the line here in a few moments.
Let's see what he can do from 10th. Could have a good lap going. A 2:14.4, and he does not improve. In fact, he gets... Oh, no, he does improve. He is up to 5th.
Really good lap.
What a great last effort. Oh, and Kenny Duval has taken the pole. While we weren't looking, Kenny Duval up to the top spot. That puts Kip Stevens down to 4th, but he's coming around on his last lap. He's going to cross the line. He has to improve on a 2:14.2. He does not do it. Tyler Gore is still working his way around, and Christopher Richards. Richards just finishing Tyler Gore as well, almost done. Let's let him try to get to the end of the lap, since it looks like we will have some time. Try to get through the grid after he finishes here. Gore currently sitting in 18th grid. Track temperature already up to 100 degrees. I'm amazed that Duval managed to do that lap with the temperatures rising so quickly, as the Canadian now flies down the pit straight and crosses the line. He does not improve, so 18th will be where he starts. With that, let's go through our starting grid. On the pole, it is Kenny Duval. Owen McLaughlin will be next to him on the front row. Horatio Brown starts P3 on row 2, with Kip Stevens showing that he's got some speed in these radicals compared to where he typically runs over in the MX-5s. Michael Overbay starts 5th, with Mark File starting P6. Then in 7th, you've got Matthew Gunderson with Enzo Massalia starting in 8th, Curlin Andrew 9th, and Alberto Blasco starting in 10th.
Starting in the 11th position will be Eric Luke. Alongside him will be Kyle Kammer in 12th. Charles Huffstetler will start in the 13th position, followed by John Labath in 14th. Estraversian Oliveira will start in 15th, followed by Paul Wildridge in 16th position. Eric Harmon will start in 17th, followed by Tyler Gore in 18th. Christian Gritzko will start in 19th, followed by Danny Duchesne, rounding out your top 20.
21st is going to be Matthew Fraley, with Christopher Richards following in at 22nd. The next row has Bradley Hawley in 23rd and Gary Schilling in 24th. Daniel Barnett starts 25th, with P26 going to David Herbert. Ronald McManus starts 27th, Phil Gilman 28th. And the only driver not to get a time in is Andrew Spicer, starting dead last on the field. With that, drivers already starting to grid up. And it is a standing start again. A lot of unknowns here. Even though it is going to be flat out up through Eau Rouge, you can still get tangled. And then, of course, there's that big guessing matter of braking on their way into Lacombe. So hopefully our drivers have done some practice out here and know exactly where they need to take it. Just waiting for the last of the cars to make their way to the grid. Kip Stevens, Curlin Andrew, and I believe that should be everybody. So with that, the lights come up, Engines start to rev. Green flag is out here at Spa-Francorchamps for round one of the American iRacing Thursday Series, and Kenny Duval off the line horribly. Owen McLaughlin gets by. Kip Stevens gets up into second, and he stops the bleeding at third. The rest of the field tries to work their way through Eau Rouge, and I don't see any banging and any wrecking, so I think they made it through clean.
Really bad start for Kenny Duval, our pole sitter, though. He is, though, getting by Kip Stevens for second, so move him up as they make their way into Lecombs. Though Michael Overbay had a great start, gained a couple of positions. He's now going to be working on Kip Stevens, and then there was a battle between Horatio Brown and Curlin Andrews back for sixth position.
Pretty uneventful run through Lacombe, it looks like. We did have one car with an incident, Christopher Richards, and I'm not entirely sure what happened with him. Oh, looks like he had a bit of a run-in with a car that had an off at the top of Radillion, and that was Kyle Kammer. We'll get back to that in a little bit. Meanwhile, your leader is still McLaughlin Duval, following behind with Kip Stevens falling back in third by quite a distance and under threat from Michael Overbay.
I'll tell you what, Duval is all over the back bumper of Owen McLaughlin. They're now coming out towards Stavelot. Close racing right now. Kip, unfortunately, not able to post anything right now. He's got to worry about Michael Overbay, who's closing in more and more, and Curlin Andrews is getting into the picture. He's been closing in a little bit.
Yeah, Andrew showing what he can do in these little powerful downforce cars. Right now, a little bit of no man's land here on the first lap. Not close enough to make an attack on Overbay, but also keeping Horatio Brown behind. Getting close to the end of the first lap, and as they break for the bus stop this first time, Owen McLaughlin well clear of second place, but outbrakes himself and spins around. Kenny Duval struggling early in the race, 3 wide behind him as they come together with the cars of Massalia, File, and Gritzko. So while the early part of the lap was not too frantic, it's the end of the lap that seems to have caused some issues.
A little bit of tire smoke right now. Horatio Brown is now going to go side, or not actually, Curlin Andrews is going to go side by side with Michael Overbay coming out of La Source now as they go heading towards Eau Rouge. Side by side, they're still going to go. Overbay gets on the power a little bit sooner than it looks like. Andrews going to continue on. As right now, give the position over to Michael Overbay in the third position.
Oh, but that slipstream very powerful in these cars. Down the Kimmel straight. Back up the inside goes Curlin Andrew and gets the position back. All the while, they are reeling in Horatio Brown, who also was getting himself a nice run. He gained some ground, but he is not within attacking distance. Overbay, in the meantime, isn't really looking in the mirrors. He is looking straight ahead, already ducking his nose to the inside, down into Ravage. But that one not going to work for P3. Right now, Curlin currently holds the final podium position.
Michael Overbay is definitely looking, though, as they're making this way towards Pouon. He is trying to find a way to get by. He gets a little bit later on in the brakes, though, but washes up, though, goes off track into the runoffs a little bit. It's going to cost him an instant point at least, and this is reeling in back Horatio Brown as they're making their way down.
I suspect that some of the dirty air coming off of Curlin got him off track there. Just could not get the grip through that high-speed corner. Back up in P6, a little bit behind these guys. This is Matthew Gunderson, Alberto Blasco, and Kenny Duval in a nice little fight. Blasco's actually had a very good start. He was in 10th on the grid. He's up to 7th. He actually crossed the line in 6th, but he since lost out to Gunderson. Might lose out here to Duval, who's on the attack. Defensive move down to the bus stop by Blasco. If he can just cut back across, and he does. Nice job defending behind them. A horrible run through the bus stop for Christian Gritzko, who might be losing a position there. As still side-by-side action, though, on screen between Blasco defending to the inside of Duval. Duval gets the better run off of the La Source hairpin, and it is going to be a drag race down to Eau Rouge. And I think he's just barely going to clear him in time.
Yeah, Gritzko had a terrible run going into La Source. lost 2 positions, was able to get one of them back from Charles Huffsteller, but is now trying to catch back up. We got a battle for P4 between Overbay and Horatio Brown. Brown was able to get by Overbay going down the Kemmel Straight. Now Overbay is going to try to make the undercut as they go through the combs and into Marmaduke.
Yeah, just caught the tail end of that, and I can report that Duval was able to successfully hold off Blasco. Huffstetler seems to have had something gone wrong here. Looks like an off-track. Oh, no, not just an off-track, but contact with Danny Duchesne. And you see down to Lacombe, looks to the inside. Duchesne here in the yellow car. Actually didn't expect number 416 to break as early as he did, it looked like. Just tipped into him. Both of them go off course and get it going once again, but multiple positions lost.
Unfortunate for Charles, and having a decent run running up towards the middle of the pack, and with that contact, that's going to cost him some major time and a long positions.
We're back up to the front now. This is second place Kip Stevens, just about a second back from McLaughlin. He's been holding him honest, Taylor, but I don't think we've yet seen Kip Stevens really make a challenge.
No, I think he's maybe taking his time a little bit, maybe even doing a little bit of fuel conservation, running behind the slipstream, and just biding his time. He's only about 0.6 of a second back from Owen. I'm pretty sure before it's all said and done, these two will be going side by side. Right now, they're finishing up going through the bus stop. Looks like Kip got a little bit loose coming off corner exit, though, but is able to recover nicely.
Oh, and Gritzko had some problems once again. I think he did the same thing last lap. Through the bus stop chicane. No, this time he just spun his wheels. Let's take a look at the replay here. Actually, this would be a really good onboard to show you what kind of handful these cars are. Watch him have to wrestle this thing, Taylor.
Oh yeah, he's already, even before he's hitting the brakes, already losing a little bit of control, and then right there as they're coming to the second half of the bus stop, just has to manhandle the car back. Yeah, twice, but in order to get the car back. It's amazing he didn't spin the car out, but he's back at it again, though. If we go back live, he's got Mark File utilizing the slipstream. He's going to go 3 wide, maybe, going before they go to Lacombe.
File on the red, white, and black machine isn't brave enough, and it looks like he's going to lose out. In fact, he might lose another position because here comes Paul Wildridge, but Wildridge doesn't have the grip off the corner. There are battles happening everywhere. Back behind them, that's LeBaff holding off Oliveira. And there's no change of position between these two for 14th and 13th. It's still side-by-side action everywhere you look.
And just great battles all over the track here. It's just so fun to be here at Spa. Just always a fun track to drive at, no matter what car you're in. And you can definitely tell in these radicals, it is just an amazing experience to drive.
Let's head up to third place because Curlin Andrew is under attack, not just by Horatio Brown, but look at this, Michael Overbay in the number 68. He is back there with Jaws music, waiting for these guys to battle wheel to wheel and see if he can pluck that podium spot away. But in the meantime, here comes Horatio Brown with a good run. Looking to the inside, down into the braking for the bus stop, but he's not quite close enough. We could maybe have another go out of the bus stop. Oh, a horrible, horrible exit for the green and white machine is going to deny him a chance at third.
Yeah, and this brought in Overbay a little bit closer to Horatio Brown as they're now going down, braking for the hairpin of La Source. Notice the lines that they took. You saw Horatio hugged that wall a little bit while you saw Overbay go a little bit further. Depends on how well you're able to get off on corner exit. It can actually help improve your exit speed, which is very crucial to set up, especially when you're heading up Eau Rouge.
And that's what we're doing right now with Overbay up and over Dillon. But ahead of him, look off in the distance. Stevens is closing in. It was 0.8 of a second. It is now 0.3 of a second. And that is well within the slipstream. Now, he wasn't able to try and attempt an overtake down into Lacombe, but this is the closest we've seen Kip since the drop of the green.
Yeah, he has been closing in, biding his time a little bit as they're now making the run down towards Ravage. Gotta be so careful. He might have tried to stick his nose out a little bit. Just play a little bit with him and see what he can do as they're setting up for No Name. But as we can see right now, it looks like the McLaughlin is pulling away just a little bit.
Oh, and Gritzko with another problem. This has been a bad day for Christian. This was another one of his own making. Let's see if we got a replay. Here we go. It's coming out of Lacoum. And you know, I suspect this was actually the curb. Maybe he just got a little greedy because it looks like he touches it on the left side. Yeah. I mean, the car just snapped on him.
Oh, yeah, right there. Unfortunate for Gritzko. He's having a decent run, but just small mistakes like that can cost you dearly.
Down to 17th for poor Christian Gritzko. He started this in 10th, or actually 19th place, I should say. So he had gained a lot of spots, but he gave them all away. Meanwhile, we're looking at the battle for 12th now. This is Wildridge leading a train of cars involving Oliveira and Harmon. And a great run by Oliveira here.
Yeah, Wildridge went washed up a little bit coming out of Stavolo, so this might give Oliveira the time he needed and the speed he needs to set up for Blanchimont. They're coming out of there right now, but it looks like that Wildridge might be able to hold him off just now as they make their way towards the bus stop chicane.
Once again, that dirty air making it horrible for Esteversen to try and get up on the back of Wildridge in the braking zone. He holds on to 12th, at least for the moment. 33 minutes left to go. We're already a third of the way through this 45-minute race. We've not been lacking action. Just behind these guys, Duchesne, who we've already seen get into some trouble earlier on, managed to successfully overtake Hufstetler as they head down towards Eau Rouge and Radillon. Let's see if maybe Charles is close enough to pull the slipstream down the Kimmel Straits.
He's trying. He's closing in a little bit more. He might take an opportunity to look to the inside before they get to Lacombe. He gets right to the back bumper, takes a dive to the inside. Side by side they go. Who's going to break first? It looks like Duchesne, but it looks like Hufstetler is going to go off course a little bit. Oh! And he had to check up. Duchesne did. This brings in Christian Gritzko now. And they're side by side contact.
Duchesne hard into the tires. I think Gritzko just wasn't aware that he was there. Granted, Gritzko, I think, had right to more track. It's hard to tell from... here we go. Maybe we'll get a good angle here. Yeah, he was fully past him.
Yeah, he was at least a good half a car length to the outside of him. So he had the position by the looks of it.
Yeah. Duchesne, who is able to get it going, but now severely damaged. And again, they have no spare car out here, so he's going to have to take some repairs if he wants to put it in better shape. I think Duchesne probably could have just moved over a little bit more to give him some space, let him back onto the track, and he would have probably easily avoided that incident. Ooh, close battle going on for fourth place. Horatio Brown and Overbay.
There was someone spinning right there coming off.
McLaughlin.
McLaughlin, our leader.
Oh, wow. Kip Stevens now takes the lead as McLaughlin gets on the power a little bit too quickly while he's on the AstroTurf. Let's watch this on the replay.
Everything's fine going into the bus stop. It looks like it has a nice entry, no problem, but then it's just coming off of the exit, gets a little bit on the AstroTurf and spins the car out. Give the lead now to Kip Stevens.
Oh, and that's going to change again because Curlin Andrew got a run on him. They're side by side for the lead down into Lacombe. Curlin breaks later, and he breaks well enough that he doesn't go off track, so the number 19 up in a P1. Kip Stevens held it for at least a quarter of the lap, but look at how that yellow car is streaking away.
Yeah, Kip Stevens has been someone to watch here tonight. He was doing quite well in practice as well as qualifying. Now that he gets the chance to get into the clean air, let's see what he's able to do. Is he able to pull away or able to just hold position in front of Kip Stevens?
So now that he's solidified that, back in 9th place, more side-by-side racing. Mark File around the outside of John LeBaff, who is very slow through No Name. That gives Bradley Hawley an opportunity. And don't forget Paul Wildridge, who both get by before Puhan. And the way that LeBaff gave that up, I almost wonder if he's got some damage or something, because he was awful slow.
He might have a little bit of damage. Try to look on his car. I don't see anything involving the nose. Looking at him right now.
Yeah, these camera's angles are not showing anything that we can see. There might be some under tray damage. He's now got the car going again. It is behind Wildridge. So let's head back up to the front because it is now a three-way fight for the lead. Kip Stevens has not fallen back, although he gets a horrible exit off of the bus stop, and now he falls back as the gap increases. But Overbay with him as well. Overbay diving to the inside, down to the La Source, but comes back to the racing line, thinks better of it.
Oh, but he gets a good exit off of La Source. He gets right on the back bumper of Kip Stevens as he has a terrible exit out of La Source. Kip gates a little bit of defensive line, maybe to set up for Eau Rouge. But it looks like Overbay's going to follow suit right now. Up towards Eau Rouge, through the Radillon they go, down the Kimmel Straight. Not close enough to pull any slipstreams at the moment. But this is a good time for them to maybe scat up before a pass to get down into Lacombe. As Horatio Brown, he has fallen off the pace a little bit, as well as Kenny Duvall.
Yeah, Horatio back at a second and a half behind Overbay. And he's got to hustle if he wants to make something of this, especially considering Kenny Duvall not too far behind him. So work their way through Rivage. We check in on 9th place because there's quite a battle going on between File and Hawley, but File's going to come out the victor in that one, taking a top 10 spot.
I don't know about that, Joe. I was looking a little bit. They were 3 wide with Paul Wildridge, too, before they got to Lacombe, and he's having to go off course a little bit. That gives Mark File back into 9th. It looks like Paul's going to fall back even more, back to 11th position now, as Bradley Hawley will get back inside the top 10.
Boy, that inside line, if you're going too wide through No Name, it seems like it's not the place to be. That's the second time we've seen a driver have to take it very, very slow. Wildridge fending off from Eric Harmon as they head down into Fanye's, but Harmon not close enough, and he actually gets balked a little bit in the middle of the chicane with a very slow Paul Wildridge, keeping him from staying with the likes of Hawley and File.
This is causing a little bit of issues for Eric right now as we come out of Stavalo, heading down the straight before they hit the Blanchimont. This is costing a lot of time for Eric. He needs to try to find a way to get by Wildridge in order to catch up with those top 2 for the top 10.
He's chasing him along the backstretch through Blanchimont now. And he stays with him relatively well. But up ahead of him, look at this. That's Bradley Hawley on the attack of Mark File. File, with that defensive move, keeps him back.
Yeah, it looked like Hawley was going to try the undercut, almost try to do that but through the bus stop, but was unable to because it looked like Mark File saw that attack coming and decided to make a defensive line. And
it almost looks like Mark is the slow one of this group. Look at this train just staying, if you will, rank and file behind him. Because that's Hawley, Wildridge, Harmon, and LeBaff all fighting with one another, but none of them able to try and get by Mark.
And Oliviera is also closing in on this pack of cars right now, so this could be quite interesting. Let's follow this right now as we see Wildridge now goes to the outside. We could have 3 wide maybe. Nope. File holds him up a little bit to prevent that.
Wildridge used File as a pick perfectly. Hawley still looks like he's maybe going to be able to get by. Works the long way around to the first apex, but it's not enough. File still in 10th, but Wildridge now leads the pack.
Looking at File's car, it doesn't seem like there's any serious issues with it, but it looks like maybe his car's more set up for the twisty bits here at Spa, while maybe not doing quite as well on the straightaway speed. So that's the reason why it looks like File might be so well at certain parts, but not too well on the straightaway, as he gets right on the back bumper of Wildridge before they head to Huon.
There was a lot of discussion between drivers before the race about which is better, the medium downforce or the low downforce on this car. And as you just explained it, it certainly makes a difference on where you are fast. Mark File right now has a very fast Bradley Hawley right behind him as we ride on the nose of File. Ooh, and Hawley is very much on the attack. Hawley looking up the inside, down into Stavilo, but not quite going to pull it off.
No, he cannot pull it off quite yet, but he might have a shot coming out of Stavilo, heading towards Blanchimont on the back straightaway. Gets right on the back bumper. He's going to look to the inside of Mark File, but Mark File starts to pull away a little bit. Bradley Hawley slips right back behind as they make the run towards Blanchimont.
Hawley stays with him. Ooh, great job through Blanchimont. Oh, but he lifts a little bit on his way down to the bus stop. I thought he was in a great position to make an attack. Now, these guys are very much losing track of the car ahead, which is Owen McLaughlin. Remember, he used to be our leader. There's one more attack here from Mark File down the outside. Whoa, way too shallow for Paul Wildridge. He's got to worry about getting around this hairpin, and he somehow manages to pull away. He was all the way to the inside. I'm not sure how he stayed ahead of Mark File there.
That was an excellent job that he was able to do. I thought for sure File would be able to get by, but here we go again. Back up, El Rouge, and as we see it, Hawley spin out.
Into the wall he goes. Unfortunately, Bradley now decks the walls of Spa-Francorchamps as he gets it going once again.
That's so difficult to get through Radillion because the car is so light through that section of the track, and it's very easy to lose control of the car. As we see the replay right now, Bradley hit Hawley going up through El Rouge, and then coming up when they come to Radillion, you see the car just get a little too light and loose and hits the wall.
He does get the car going, but he is going quite slow, unfortunately. And I thought I saw a car with another incident, but I think it was just a connection issue. Do you see some cars taking what looks like scheduled stops? Horatio Brown, Alberto Blasco, John LaBeouf is in. I see Danny Duchesne in, but I think he has been sitting in his stall for repairs for quite a long time, so that is not scheduled. Boy, attrition's certainly played its part here, Taylor. I see 20 cars left on track out of nearly 30 starters.
Yeah, this track has not been quite friendly for some of these drivers here tonight. As we see our leaders now, they're approaching now La Source. Let's see if any of them decide to come down pit road.
And it looks like none of them are diving in right now. Pretty much all of our leaders. Meanwhile, we've got a little bit of separation between those leaders as they get themselves each some room. Although, did we see Overbay overtake Stevens?
No, I don't think we did, but
I think that's recent.
It was, I think, at least 2 or 3 laps ago.
So Overbay now up to second. Stevens, who briefly saw himself in the lead, has not been able to retake that. But you saw them weaving their way down the Kimmel Straight. They seem to be getting quite a slipstream down this long straightaway, and they know it. They've been utilizing it to good effect for overtakes.
Yes, they have been. As we go down at P7, it is still the same show as Wildridge, File, and Harmon now. He's joined the picture after that incident with Hawley.
And Wildridge just overtook File before we switched over to this. That was on the Kimmel Straight. Just easy slipstream down and by. Don't need to go back for a replay on that one. One more taker to be expected. Bradley Hawley has come into the pits. Now, Horatio Brown and Alberto Blasco have been in the pits for a long time themselves. This is definitely not scheduled. Something must have happened between them, because they both, I want to say, came in at the same time.
Looking at their pit times right now, they're pretty identical, maybe a second off from each other. So something must have happened between those two drivers.
I don't think we can get the replay. It's probably not able to go back and get it, but Horatio had a spin in Rivage, got the car going, but then he spun it again immediately in No Name, and Blasco came around the corner blind and just clipped him enough that both cars had too much damage to continue. Ooh, Duval has caught Stevens, and now he's taken away third. Kip Stevens, after a phenomenal start, finds himself moving backwards, spot after spot. He's going to try and come back, though. Let's see what he can do off of Radillion.
At the back of the car, and it looks like he's got a little bit of rear end damage, but it's not affecting him right now. He gets a slipstream right now. He's going to look at Kenny Duval, see if he can close in, but it looks like he backs off just a little bit before they head to Lacombe's.
You know, maybe he thinks that Duval is faster than him and is just thinking, all right, let's ride his coattails up to these two and see if that'll help me get an overtake. But it seems to be backfiring if that is what he's thinking, because he's already a second back.
Yeah, and he gets a little bit loose through Rivage. Almost has the car sideways through there, but able to recover. He's now going through No Name, but he has lost a lot of time once Kenny Duval got by him.
And Paul Wildridge has now taken his scheduled stop. He is in and out. Making his way up through Eau Rouge. And he is going to be the leader of all the cars who have pitted.
Here comes Gary Schilling. He's coming up now, going to be side by side. He's got top tires compared to our driver right here, Paul Wilford. They're going to be side by side, though. Let's see who breaks first. Looks like Schilling will decide to let him go. But look, hopefully Wood. Ooh.
Up and over the curbs. Wildridge a little bit too deep. Now I'll be surprised if he doesn't get a slowdown penalty for that. And it looks like he doesn't.
I think he was just enough to where he would not get that penalty, but right now, so he's doing all he can to keep Schilling behind him. Which I gotta say, Gary Schilling has been doing quite well in this car, watching him running inside the top 15 right now.
I think a lot of that is due to attrition. He started 24th. He's sitting 14th right now, as you mentioned. As we go on board with the number 17. I think so many cars have fallen afoul that he's just kept his nose clean. But drivers who definitely have their noses clean are our leaders who are pitting.
Yep, Kenny Duval and Michael Overbay all decided to come down. Kip Stevens decided to stay out along with Curlin Andrews. And he's coming up on some lap traffic.
Gunderson stays out as well, promoting him to third temporarily. Owen McLaughlin as well, our former leader of this race. Starter on the front row. Boy, what a drastic and horrible race, honestly, for our front row. Duval is currently in 7th coming out of the pits, and McLaughlin currently running 4th, still yet to take his stop.
Yeah, he's going to have to probably come in either this lap or the next time by, because there's about a little under 17 minutes to go, so he's going to have to definitely make the pit stop soon.
So we watch these two work their way through Lacombe now. Charles Huffstetler has come in. Esteverson, excuse me, I'm having the worst time with his name, has pitted. Mark Feil has come in and out. Overbay still our highest pitter at the moment. Oh, and Overbay actually just runs into the car of Christian Gritzko, who loses it through No Name. Both of them get it going once again, but both now carrying damage as Duval sneaks on through. He was hunting him down, looking to see if he could get by. Oh, that car just, he was so close behind him, he had no time to react.
And that's one of the unfortunate things when you're so close to your competitors through some certain corners. That car in front of you could easily get loose, and you have no time to react to get away.
Overbay definitely limping this car around, which is bad news since he's already taken his pit stop, and the extra stop, even though it's not the full endurance layout, is going to cost him quite a bit of time. Matthew Gunderson now pits. Still waiting on quite a few cars. Oh, Eric Lukes had a major shunt. In fact, this is probably one of the biggest we've seen all day. Yeah, that car not going to be able to make it back. This is into Puhan. This is one of the worst places you want the car to snap. First apex overcorrects. Even with the paved runoff, he could not get it slowed down hardly at all, Taylor.
No, he could not at all, and that's just a hard hit into that barrier in the middle of Puhan. Unfortunate for the Florida driver.
And that car that you see coming down the pit lane, I have bad news for Michael Overbay fans. He's decided it's enough damage that he cannot go on without visiting the pits one more time. We'll see if he even brings the car back out. It'd be a shame to see him give it up. Still waiting on a number of our leaders to come in. Andrew, Stevens, McLaughlin, all haven't pitted. Harmon hasn't come in. Christian Gritzko, who we know is carrying damage, still hasn't come in.
It's quite surprising that we haven't seen our top two come in at the moment, Curlin Andrews at all. Ooh, Kip Stevens getting by Curlin Andrews right now.
No, that was a lapped car. That's Danny Duchesne, similarly painted to Curlin Andrew.
Oh,
I believe
yes,
they're
is.
teammates. I was going to say, I still see the timing saying Carlin up front, but Curlin now coming up to the La Source hairpin. Let's see if he pits now. It's getting way at the end of the pit window. No, he's going to stay out one more time. But Stevens is not. Stevens comes in. He's got quite a gap back to Owen McLaughlin in third. So really not worried about him jumping him in the pit stops unless something goes really wrong for Stevens. Kenny Duvall is currently our highest pitter, but I believe that's about to change with Kip.
Sitting on pit road right now, so Kenny might be able to get by. Here he comes right now, coming on the front straight.
Duvall's through. So Stevens could not get out ahead of him. And in fact, Duvall has put a major gap on Stevens. This is looking like 5 seconds or so.
Pulling away even more. By the looks of it, so that it looks like Kip might have had a definitely needed to get some repairs done in order for him to close in.
Just 2 cars left to take their scheduled stop. That is Andrew, our leader, and Gritzko.
Yeah, Andrews just came out of Stavalo right now, so he's making his way towards the end of the track, or end of the straightaway right now. He's now making his way towards Blanchimont.
Kip Stevens is not having a fun time. Gritzko, who's as damaged as he is not letting him by. And it seems to be a very difficult job for Kip to try and execute. UK&I driver has been stuck behind him ever since he got out of the pits half a lap ago. You could see the damage on the rear of Gritzko's cars.
Curlin is finally decided to come down pit road. Got the speed limiter down to 37 miles an hour. And away he goes down pit road.
I think finally Kip Stevens is going to get past Gritzko. Let's hope for Christian's sake his nickname is not Gritty. Break for the bus stop. Looks like he is not going to give a challenge back to Kip. Matthew Gunderson is behind these two. That would be for position between Gunderson's and Stevens if he can get by Gritzko. Report that Andrew is pulling out now. Our leader, is being challenged because Kenny Duval is coming. Kenny Duval has a head of steam, and Kenny Duval is now your new leader.
What a recovery for Kenny Duval after that terrible start on the green flag drop. He has now been able to work his way back up into the lead, but I think Curlin Andrews might have something to say about that before it's all said and done.
And here's where it gets intriguing. Duval stationary for 15 seconds, Andrew stationary for 19. So Andrew could have maybe gotten a bit of repairs done, and that could explain 4 seconds more, but I'm not sure how wildly these pit stops swing here in these radicals. This is only our second race ever, and the last one was many, many years ago at this point on GSRC.
Time is closing in right now. So at about a 1.8 seconds with our leaders.
Back in 8th position, Gritzko has come in and out, and he's come out with company. That's Eric Harmon, the 617 you see trailing him. Eric racing in the black and red machine, the navy blue and white with Christian Gritzko. A little bit not a good exit coming out of No Name. That gives Gritzko the opportunity to pull away, but it looks like Harmon gets right back on it, though, through Pouon. Has a great run through there. Tries to close in a little bit more. Down towards Fanyes. Harmon once again looking good under braking, staying right underneath that rear wing, seeming to have very few problems withstanding the buffeting of the car ahead. That will bode well for Eric.
Gets loose.
Yeah, and that was not the place where you wanted that to happen, but poor Eric not able to capitalize on it as now they come to the backstretch. He will get a slipstream, but is it enough to try and overtake by the time they get to the bus stop? And can he stay behind through Blanchimont?
He's going to try his best. He's closing it a little bit more. It looks like he lets off a little bit, though, to make it through Blanchimont. That gives Gritzko, I think, enough space to set up to get up ready for the bus stop chicane.
Christian well safe into there, and Curlin Andrew has caught Kenny Duval. He has run him down a number of seconds back just moments earlier to 0.2 of a second, and they've got about a 6-second gap back to third place Kip Stevens, so they've got space to battle.
Yes, they do. What a drive for Curlin Andrews. He's got right back up there as they go through No Name, though. It looks like Duval pulls away just a little bit as they make the run down towards Pouon.
So off of Pouon, Curlin drops a little bit of time. Looks like he's struggling to stay up with Kenny, unlike Eric Harmon was with Gritzko as they now come through Fanyes. He's got to regroup and get back up there. And still we don't know if Duval has short-fueled it.
We will definitely know here in the closing stages of this race. 6 minutes to go. Kenny Duval currently leading by 1.1 seconds over Curlin Andrew. Kip Stevens about 5.8 back. He is not able to make any ground at this moment unless these two start battling a little bit more.
Back down in 10th place. We haven't looked at Kyle Kammer hardly at all. And he's being chased by Charles Huffstetler for 10th place. Kammer having started in 12th, Huffstetler in 13th. They've each climbed an equal amount of positions here with only 6 minutes left to go. And with a large gap to the cars ahead, these two are certainly free to race. In fact, they are the last two on the lead lap.
Yeah, been battling right now for these past few laps right now. It looks like Cameron gets a little bit off the line. That brings in Charles Huffstetler in as they make their way through Stavelo. Careful not to go too far offline where you wash up, go over that curving to get an incident point, which you do not want to have.
Pass for the lead. Curlin Andrew manages to get by Duval, but he outbrakes himself. He goes across the grass in Lacombe, and the lead goes back in favor of Duval. Did Andrew get a slowdown?
There is a possibility. He did cut the course quite well, but also it looked like Kenny Duval also went a little bit off
course. But I don't think he went off nearly as much as Duval did, and as much as Andrew did, and he is dropping back. So, yes, I think Curlin had to serve a slowdown penalty, it looks like.
Yeah, unfortunate for Curlin Andrew. He's got a little bit of time now to make up and not enough time to possibly close the deal. He's going to have to put the gas down in order to catch up. 1.2 seconds is a little bit of time to make up, especially with 4.5 minutes to go.
Wow. Can we get a replay? Kyle Kammerer was trying to pass Huffstetler, and I thought he had it done. They went too wide into Eau Rouge. It was shades of Alonso versus Weber. Let's take a look at this. Gets the run. Tries to see. Actually, this is Huffstetler coming back at him. It looks like he had the pass done. Brave stuff from Huffstetler.
That was what we call a textbook pass, and an excellent job.
Get your textbooks out and bookmark that one, because that was some schooling that he put on Kyle Kammerer there. Meanwhile, 3.5 minutes left to go. Battle for the lead is not over. It's still a second between Duval and Andrew, and they've kept the gap behind them to about 5.5 seconds. Kip Stevens does not look like he's going to play a role.
It's unfortunate for Kip Stevens. He is going to be finishing out in third position unless something happens between our two leaders, which it looks like Andrew is closing in a little bit now as they get down the Kemmel Straight. He's going to look to the outside as they break now for Lacombe. I tell you what, he did gain a lot of time through that section.
He certainly did. I wonder if there's a difference in setup between these two cars, and a difference in downforce levels. He's going to have about 1.5 laps more to try and get this done, because the white flag will be out next time by. Curlin Andrew now up to 0.5 seconds behind Duval. He's cut it in half since we last joined this. Down towards Puhan one more time. What can that bright yellow car do? Andrew started this race in 9th place. Duval had it on the pole. There is a 1 second lap time difference between the two of them in qualifying. But somehow, Curlin Andrew has managed to turn up the wick here in the race and has put a challenge on to take a win. Go on board with a bright yellow car now.
Andrew ran a 2:15.77 compared to Duval's 2:15.47. So Duval was about 0.3 faster that last lap as we're now closing in on completing this next lap before we get the white flag. And a little bit, if you look right ahead up in the distance, you do see some lap traffic up in front of them. So that can play a little bit of a factor. Andrew late on the brakes to the bus stop chicane. Duval trying his best to protect his position out of the bus stop. They go. Got to be careful with losing it out of there. We saw our previous leader, McLaughlin, lose it.
Stays right with him. Now they come around La Source. This will be the final corner. It'll be the last chance to try and make a pass if he needs it. Curlin stays with him, holding at 0.5 second. Barnett, the one up the road that could maybe cause some issues for these two, but now the slipstream is already coming into play, and they've barely got into the Kemmel Straight. Curlin Andrew already going by the number 19 back up into the first position. Does Duval have a response? They go by the lap traffic. Nice job by Barnett letting them through, but it is a solid pass, and he has not let him back by. Curlin Andrew now into the lead.
Don't count out Kenny Duval yet. He gets a great run out of Malmedy now as they head down towards Ravage. He gets to the outside. He's going to take the long way on contact a little bit as they go through Ravage. As they're making their way down, it is going to be Andrews holding on to the lead. Duval closing in through No Name as they make the run down to Pouon.
Everybody make room because the elbows are out. Curlin Andrews not going to give this one up easily. Duval still close enough behind that he could come back. If he could stay close enough that he gets the run off of Stavilo, he could make another pass back. Can Andrew withstand the pressure? He's been leading much of this race. He took it away from Kip Stevens. Then he led the way until the pit stops when Kenny Duval took it over. A fantastic run coming out of Stavilo for Duval. Andrew looking like a sitting duck. He tries to hold it in the very middle of the track, and it forces the driver, Kenny Duval, to go the long way around. Now he comes back to the racing line. He stays right with him. It's going to be a game of chicken. Oh, wow. Takes him down to the inside here to the bus stop, and he comes back to the racing line. Duval tries to get the car slowed up, and it spins around. He gets it going once again, but Curlin Andrew is struggling to get the power down himself. He's got a little bit of a gap. I don't think Duval is going to have an answer. It was a valid try. It was a valiant effort. But Curlin Andrew from 9th on the grid. What a run to take the win here in the very first race for the Radical for the American iRacing Thursday Series.
And that is why I love watching races here at Spa. Excellent racing between Andrews and Duval as we see the battle for P10 picking up.
Yep, this is the only close battle really we've got, as everybody else in the mid-pack, or at least the top of the pack, I should say, is quite spread apart. This is Charles Huffstetler with Kyle Cameron. We saw them go side by side into Eau Rouge, but if Cameron wants to make a brave move, he's going to have to get a whole lot closer than this. He's nearly a second back.
Huffstetler's closing in on Grisco too a little bit as they're making the run towards Blanchimont. So it's not too far, but if one of them make a mistake, this could be an opportunity for any one of these drivers to either gain or lose a lot of position through the bus stop chicane for the final time. Cameron goes late into the braking to try to close the deal. Not able to, though. I think it's going to be these three finishing in those same positions. One last time down towards La Source before they hit the start-finish line. I think it's safe to say these drivers are going to stay in the position as Cameron laid on the brakes to try to gain as much time as he can, but I think it's not going to work for him now. Looks like he will end up finishing in the 11th position.
And as they come across, that's going to be it for now. We do have a post-race show coming up, though. There we'll read out the unofficial results as well as give you some driver interviews to get their perspective. But stick around because on screen you're going to see all the upcoming races on the GSRC. Welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps. This was round one of the American iRacing Thursday series. Who would have thought, having qualified 9th on the grid, that it would be Curlin Andrew who manages to take away the win. And he did not have it easy, that is for sure. Kenny Duval not only passed him in the pit stops, but tried to take it back with only 2 corners to go, but it was not to be. Duval had to settle for second place. Kip Stevens couldn't catch up to them to take advantage of the mistake of Duval. And Kip still gets on the podium, and I have to say that was an admirable run. Matthew Gunderson finishes 4th, with Mark Feil taking 5th. Owen McLaughlin, a mistake early in the race was costly. He started on the front row, but he finishes in 6th. Esteverson Oliveira finishes 7th from starting 15th. What a climb. And then 17th to 8th for Eric Harmon. Christian Gritzko goes from 19th to 9th. All 3 of those drivers really coming forward. Rounding out our top 10 was Charles Huffstetler.
Finishing in 11th position, and our last car on the lead lap will be Kyle Kammer. First car that's going to be one or multiple laps down would be Paul Wildridge, followed by Tyler Gore in 13th. David Herbert finishes from the 14th position, with Danny Duchesne coming home in 15th. Horatio Brown, not a very good night for him, started in the 3rd position. He will end up in 16th. Daniel Barnett will come home in the 17th position, followed by Michael Overbay, one of the strong winners, but unfortunate for him, who will come home in 18th position. Eric Luke will finish in 19th position, followed by Enzo Masilia will come home in 20th position. Gary
Schilling winds up 21st, and these are a lot of cars that have DNF'd. Ronald McManus, 22nd. Alberto Blasco, 23rd. Then Bradley Hawley, with what was looking like a potentially good drive, just went south, finishes 24th. John LaBaff, 25th, and Matthew Fraley, 26th. Then it's Phil Guillemin in 27th, Andrew Spicer, 28th, and Christopher Richards comes home 29th today. Let's see. We've got Kenny Duval, second place, ready to talk to us. The number 63. Kenny, you gave it your best, and when it came down to those last couple corners, it looks like it just was not meant to be.
Well, there was a minor bit of race data confusion. I was thinking that was the last lap and being a little conservative to not do anything dumb, and I got to let him get a little bit too close. If I'd have drove that lap like the previous one, I don't know if he would have been close enough to do it, but we'll take it. Second place is good.
That explains it then. We weren't sure how he caught so quickly. Now, you did jump him in the pit stops. Is this a case of you having a regular stop and Curlin having a long one, or did you short fill? Because we were shocked by the difference in your stop times.
I took the minimal possible amount of fuel I could have to finish the race. If we'd had to go one more lap, it would have been out of gas.
So that could have been what played into it. Now, you managed to put it on pole. You only came home with second. I'm sure that is a little bit disappointing, but this certainly bodes well. This shows you've got speed, 1-lap pace, and in race pace for the rest of the season here.
I think we should be in good shape. The pole lap was, I'll call that one a fluke. That was the last lap Hail Mary for the Q session. So I don't expect to see another one like that unless the cards fall well again.
Well, you certainly took good advantage of the changeable conditions out there. Congratulations on the win. Anybody you'd like to thank before you go?
Yeah, we got some fellow drivers, Michael Overbay and Mark Feil, Eric Luke, Charlie Huffstetler. They're all running with us, and Overbay was a big part of that Q lap. So he was a great help that race.
All right. Well, that was our second place finisher, Kenny Duval, talking to us. Up next, Taylor has cut up with the driver we didn't see a whole lot of on screen, Matthew Gunderson.
Yes, indeed. We're here with Matthew Gunderson, driver number 33 Radical. Matt, I would say that was a pretty good night for you, starting in the 7th position. Tell us about your race here tonight.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it overall. It was a rough start for me. I ran a low downforce set, so I knew I was going to give up a few positions on cold tires in the first couple laps. And as a few of the fast guys started to fall to some incidents, and I managed to keep it clean, so I was pretty happy.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about when it comes to racing, especially on road courses. As long as you keep it clean, you're able to get good positions. You were able to get through a lot of issues going on in the race. Tell us what was one of the most difficult parts about was handling this track, especially with this car.
I found getting good traction out of the bus stop chicane and sometimes even out of La Source was really difficult, especially with the set that I had. I had to really ease on the throttle and try and not lose it.
All right. Well, with this new season, with this new car, tell us, what are you most looking forward to with this season? Any tracks that you feel confident of maybe taking home a podium or even a win?
Well, I'm definitely not looking for a win here. I'm pretty surprised. I'm hoping for top 10s realistically this season. There are a few tracks out there I like. This was one of them, and I'm just hoping to try and keep it smooth and steady throughout the season.
All right. Well, we look forward to watching you this season here on Thursday nights. And is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
I'll give a shout out to my teammate Tyler Gore for doing our paint, and a special thanks to Paul Wildridge for selling me this wheel that I ran for the first time tonight.
I guess that wheel did pretty good for you tonight coming home in fourth. Again, Matthew, congratulations on your fourth place finish, and we look forward to seeing you at the next round.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Up next, we have our fifth place finisher, the 777 of Mark File. Mark, a top five is no mean feat with the competition we tend to see here in PRL. And speaking of competition, you were in the thick of a multi-car battle there in the middle of the race. Tell us about that.
There was a lot of action going on there, man. I mean, it was chaos. There was people getting massive drafts. So every time you worked your way around somebody, they got right back past you. So it was a big duel, nonstop.
Other than that, looking through your race, it seemed like you're relatively mistake-free from what I can tell, at least major mistakes. A lot of drivers struggled here hopping to this high downforce, high power machine. What are your impressions? Are you used to running the Radical before this series?
No, this is the first series in the Radical for me. And just kept it as clean as I could. I mean, I was real lenient with other drivers because, you could see when someone was going to do something dumb. So you just got to plan ahead.
Now, we've had a chance to run it at a very large track that probably suits this car pretty well. A Spa offering a lot of chances to use the power of this Radical. But the next race is going over to Tsukuba, one of the newest tracks here on iRacing. Are you looking forward to that? Or are you kind of not happy that that's on the schedule?
Yeah, this one's going to worry me. It's definitely not one of my better spots. I have driven this track in another sim before, so hopefully that little bit of experience helps. I know the track well enough, but it's going to be very crowded.
Yeah, and I'm sure traffic won't be fun either. Well, congratulations on a top five. We wish you the best in the rest of the season.
Thank you very much, guys.
That was Mark File, and I believe we've got one more ready to go. Charles Huffstetler is going to join Taylor.
Uh-oh.
We're here with Charles Huffstetler.
I'm trying to work on it. Where'd my thing go?
Can you hear us?
I've lost you.
Looks like Charles.
Mics.
Yeah, Charles doesn't quite have his headphones set up to the right place. So we'll give that a pass for now. He did finish in 10th, had a fantastic battle with Kyle Cameron. We'll see if maybe we can talk to him next week. So in the meantime, we're going to close up. And as we close, we're going to give a big thank you once again to HFD1 Motorsports for sponsoring the season of the Radicals. As well, we want to thank the organizers of the Precision Racing League and to iRacing for bringing us onto the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss any of the action. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Taylor, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. The Esports Network up next is going to be tomorrow, Formula 3.5 Championship at Nürburgring. That'll be on Friday, December 21st at 3 p.m. Eastern. However, on the GSRC, when we return with PRL, it'll be at Tsukuba, which I mentioned, Thursday, January 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern. They're going to take a little bit of a break for the holidays, which we hope you'll have a good holiday and a Merry Christmas as well. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen in the meantime, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. And until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.